Welcome to the Breakthrough Story. The purpose of the Breakthrough Story is to look behind the scenes of successful individuals in Columbus, Ohio, to see what challenges and breakthroughs they experienced along their path to success. What obstacles did they face in their early stages of life, and what helped them break through those obstacles? What has helped them succeed, and what is something they did differently? These are some of the few questions we try to answer with the Breakthrough Story. Today we are joined with Ryan Lawasani. Ryan is a one-of-a-kind individual that has an incredible story of hardship and challenges as his family moved from the Middle East to Germany and now to the USA. Today, we will learn what helped Ryan get through those tough times and what is his secret to such incredible growth and success in real estate in just the past few years. This episode is brought to you by Orange Visuals. Orange Visuals is a one-stop shop listing and branding service for real estate professionals in Central Ohio. When you need to market yourself or a property, Orange Visuals provides all the services such as photo, video, brochures, single property websites, and so much more. Visit Orange Visuals today and see why top producing realtors choose to market themselves with Orange Visuals. All right. Thank you so much, Ryan, for joining me today for the Breakthrough podcast. I'm really excited for your story. I've kind of had a glimpse of it. I know it's a wonderful story, and I know that the listeners here will be thrilled to hear it. They will, I think, learn a lot of things, as I think you've mentioned to me a couple of times already. Many people have learned a lot of things along your journey. So thank you so much again for joining. Can you give a little bit of a background story of where you're from and how you ended up here today?
Absolutely.
Just for like 30 seconds.
30 seconds, wow.
No, not 30 seconds.
Well,
take your time.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you and share my story. I don't share my story to, I share my story to help other people to become successful. The road to success is not as hard as people make it sound like. So, as far as where I came from, so I'm originally Iranian. We left Iran. We immigrated to Germany. We lived in Germany for about 5-6 years, and from there on we came to the greatest country in the world, the United States. Unlimited opportunities, right?
I was going to say land of opportunity.
That's right, land of opportunities. Coming here we didn't have much, so it wasn't. Nothing was handed to us. Mm-hmm. I have 2 sisters. One of my youngest sisters is going to learn nursing. Other sister is actually a part of our team. She actually passed her test. She managed a property. She's the greatest property manager in the world, and she's going to be one of the greatest realtors. I think that we have a competition. Mm-hmm. Her boyfriend also just got licensed, which is pretty awesome. So we'll look forward to their success. But yeah, that's where I came.
So for somebody that might not understand, can you explain in what state you came to the United States, in terms of like financially, like what was it like coming here? Like you didn't come here on a jet and had everything handed to you. Can you give people an idea of what it was like when you arrived here?
Well, we came to Dayton, Ohio. I grew up in Dayton. I grew up in one of the toughest part of Dayton. So it wasn't like nothing was set up for us, right? So we were given $1,000. We were refugees. We got approved an asylum status when we came to the United States. So they gave us $1,000 and they said, figure it out. So we didn't have anything. The $1,000, I think back then we spent $500 on a deposit on an apartment because our rent was $500. I wish there was rents like that today. But my entire family started working. My mom, growing up, played a big role in disciplining us. When I was younger, we had to be home at 6 o'clock. You be at home. You're not, there's no problem. She stressed school so much for us. And my dad was kind of laid back. He taught us how to live a good life. For example, try any drugs you want to do, but do it in front of me. And we never touched anything, just for the respect of it, right? But it was hard because my mom had never worked in her life. And we all went to work at McDonald's. I was 15 and a half when I started my first job at McDonald's.
I want to ask, when you, obviously it's a very tough situation to come here with $1,000.
Yeah.
And you mentioned even your mom never worked before
That's
this
right.
and didn't have to, I guess.
Right.
What was it like in your family, if you could share a little bit? Like, what was the atmosphere? Was it like, were you guys hopeful because you've just gotten to the United States, even though it was that kind of situation, or was it, did you have any ambition for the future? What was it like?
Yeah, we definitely had ambition for the future. I think that my parents are tired. My mom slept a lot. Like, she would come home and she'd be knocked out. But we had hope for the future. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it was hard. It wasn't easy, but we had to do what we had to do to survive. Anybody that knows my family, even up to this day, people tell me, say, hey, I went to Washington with my dad yesterday, and we were talking about it, and he said, one of the teachers had mentioned that if we were in Germany today, we'll still be successful. And that's what people knew about us. We fought, and we never stopped, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, of course we didn't know what direction we were going to, mm-hmm. but we had hope for future. I was embarrassed.
You weren't giving up? No,
absolutely not. I was embarrassed to work with my mom and my dad side by side. I hated seeing my mom, be on the line for 8 hours. It killed me. But quickly, within a year, my dad went into opening his own business. So my dad is the owner of Sadat's Lawn Service in Dayton, which is a great landscaping company. He does a great job. People love him, and he's busier than ever. He never stopped. He worked for himself. And I think a lot of things for me comes from my dad. When I look back now and see how my future was determined, I got that from my dad. So mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys, you mentioned you all went into restaurants, right?
Yeah.
And your dad, your mom, and you worked in the same restaurant.
Yeah.
For some time.
Yeah.
So what was that like? You mentioned to me before this, you were in school and mm-hmm. you didn't really enjoy it.
That's right.
And in being in the situation you had to work a lot alongside mm-hmm. your parents. So how was that? What was that kind of experience? What kind of experience was that?
I will tell you what my ultimate goal was. My parents wanted to have a successful life in the United States. My goal was to move back to Germany.
Really?
I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be with my friends.
Why? Oh, your friends in Germany.
I miss my friends in Germany. That's all I wanted to do. So that was the reason why I worked so much. I helped with the bills at home. Obviously, I had to. We all put it together. But most of my money went to saving up for the summertime to go to Germany. But you're right. I wasn't good at school. I actually, my sophomore year, I actually joined a program where I was working after school. So, and that was very hard for me because I would leave school early and go to work, but then we had open lunches. So the open lunch, what that means is kids get out of school and they come to lunch. And of course, probably 40% of my friends would come to McDonald's.
Which was a mile from your school.
Yeah, that was the place I was working at. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was a girl that I really, really liked. I wanted to go homecoming with her, and of course I didn't tell her I was working at McDonald's. She never knew I was doing that. And I would always tell my boss, I'm like, hey, if my friends come in here, don't make me clean the bathroom. Let me stay back in the grill. I don't want anybody to see me. And this person would always make me go out. And one day, this girl came up and she said, go out, clean the bathroom. And I had to. I didn't want to lose my job. And I walked by that girl, and she looked at me. She said, oh, you work here? And I said, yeah, I'm sorry. She said, are you stealing back there? I said, no, why would I be stealing? She said, why are you sorry?
Why are you what?
Why are you sorry about working here? I said, well, I was on the same level as you and whatever. But when I came back, I was so angry. I went to the manager. I said, listen, one day I'm going to be your boss. And she laughed. I was 19. 3 years later, I was her boss.
Really? And you were the manager?
I was her manager.
Wow.
She worked for my company for 35 years. Always got it her way. Within my first 30 days, she was gone. She walked out.
She walked out?
She walked out.
Really?
Because she couldn't, nobody ever held her accountable. See, when I grew up, I had a very rough childhood, and I don't talk about everything that I seen, whether it was in Iran and, Germany was easy, and life got easy in the United States. But I always went after the biggest people.
What do you mean by went after? Like you took example of them, or you try to take them down?
I competed against the biggest ones. When we played soccer and they said, hey, this guy is very strong, like don't don't try to go in a fight with him or like a running spree with him, you know. And I would do exact opposite. I would go right after that person. I would go after the best. Always go after the best. And for the most part, in my life, anybody that bit on my failure lost their bet, because I always won. I always stood there. I always did the right thing. When I say that person that didn't last, I don't think she didn't last because I made her life hell. That wasn't true. Mm-hmm. I think she didn't last because of jealousy. Being competitive and jealousy, they're two different things.
I was going to highlight that because judging from what you told me earlier, although you are very competitive, you don't take advantage of people. You do the exact opposite. You want to help them.
Exactly.
Can you share about that? Because I think that's very important, especially in our age when some people are so ambitious and yet they're very selfish in the way they do it.
Sure. When I won, everything I won in my life, I won it fairly. Okay, I never put someone else down simply because I wanted to win. I won because I performed better. Even if I got in a fight, it was always like that. My dad would always say, sometimes you get in a fight and you take the first hit, you win, but if they hit you first, you're dead. And that's how it was. So of course I was younger and I grew up in a rough school, so I went through a lot of fights, but I don't want to talk about that. But the reason why I didn't take advantage of people was because people took advantage of me. I was a very, very young restaurant manager. And being young, you struggle. The older people are always trying to run over you because they can't cope with a younger person coming in and taking their jobs, right? But I always followed the book. I read the policies in anything I've done, and if I knew I was right, I would never step down. Mm-hmm. I will argue with you until the end, until you say you're right. You know, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But that's how my passion came for working with younger kids. When I hired my employees, I never wanted to have a perfect employee. I wanted to have somebody that has rooms to improve in life, right? Because I was that person one day. Throughout my career, I helped many young people do better because I gave them the tools to succeed. And somebody gave me that one day. My bosses, throughout my career, I've learned something from everyone. I had a purpose every day. I made a difference in somebody's life every day. That's what mattered to me. And even up to this day, people ask me, say, why do you do this? Why do you go out of your way? Why do you drive from here to this place to help this person out? And I look at them, I say, you just don't understand.
Would it be accurate to say that you try to treat people as you would want to be treated? Or
Exactly.
Even maybe a more accurate thing to say to your past would be you want to treat people like as you wanted to be treated.
That's
back
right.
then.
Exactly. Even today, even when I work in my restaurant, I work side by side with people. Everybody that worked for me will tell you, they never felt like I was their boss. I was their friend. I gave them something that nobody else could. I gave them opportunity, and I showed you that I really cared about your success. In my restaurants, everybody's voice mattered. Whether you were my worst employee or my best employee, your voice mattered. I wanted to listen to you. And you know, I was really good at what I did. I was good at managing people. And I took my opportunity. Do you know why I became a restaurant manager?
No.
Okay, so when I work in a fast food, I had to wear a hat every day. And I knew the only way that I can avoid that is to get promoted.
Really?
I'm dead serious. I got promoted because I didn't want to wear a hat, and I love my hair. So.
well, it looks good. Well,
Yeah.
What was your motivation to stay to remain a restaurant manager? Obviously, that can't be the motivation anymore, or was it still?
No, well, I didn't want to step down. Obviously, money was good. I was always one of the highest paid managers, and being successful felt good. I didn't think I was going to be good at it, but you know, just learning the things from my parents, from my dad, you know, about being a human being. Just be a good person. That's all you have to do. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times, and I told you earlier, I think that I never see a bad in person. I don't think anybody's bad. If I meet you the first time, to me you're a great person, until you prove me otherwise. And once you do that, then I'm just, you know, I just go a different way. I don't want to deal with you anymore. and I give people a lot of chances in life, and that's how it was in my restaurant. I would literally go to court for my employees that they had a criminal case, and I would sit there and tell the judge, listen, I don't know how this person committed this crime, but I can tell you, when they're in my restaurant, they're a good worker. Let them work. Let them come back to work. And it worked, and I saved a few people like that. I saved a lot of people from the streets like that. See, when I grew up, my best friend that I had in the United States, I lost him when I was 17. He went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to jail for a crime that he really didn't commit, right? But I think that was maybe a good way. Maybe that was a message from God, because I think that I would have gone the wrong directions. I would have followed his lead, would have been around. He has an amazing life today. We'll still talk every day. Still my best friend. We always talk. But that was one of the things. I was surrounded by people that struggled in life, and I was one of them. But I took a different route. I think that in life we always get. Everybody has the opportunity to success. Mm-hmm. You just got to take it.
So, to kind of continue your story, mm-hmm. what caused you to leave the restaurant industry and to move forward closer to where you are now?
Okay, that's a great question. So, I really loved my job when I was in the restaurant industry. There was nothing missing. After many years of struggle, I had learned how to work 48 hours a week. That's what I was required to, and that was by staffing. My wife got licensed in 2017, and I would say about 80% of my success is all to her today. She would always tell me, get licensed. And I would always tell her it's a scam. It doesn't work. Real estate is a scam. A job that just gives you commission, you just can't do it. So that was one of the reasons, but I was also trying to get promoted to a different position. And
within the restaurant?
In the restaurant. I really love training, and I wanted to become a training manager. It wasn't a lot of more money. It wasn't about the money for me. It was mainly about the success. And I ran a very rough restaurant. My restaurant was located in a tough part of the town, so it wasn't easy to run. We always had staffing problems, but yet I had the lowest turnover. I had to clean restaurants. I did what I had to do. For some reason, this particular person felt like I didn't deserve it. I actually went to one of the biggest classes they had, and you think about it, in that class was about 40 people that were selected from around the country, and I was one of the 40 people. Mm-hmm. In that class, I met a girl, another restaurant manager, one of the greatest girls ever. She does a great job. I come back to my restaurant, and I'm ready to get certified. My restaurant gets certified. Well, this leader, this person goes around and start gossiping about me to somebody else in a different state. And the girl calls me and says, hey, this person came up here today, and I asked her, when you're going to get certified, and she just went off and talking to all this crazy stuff about you. And I tried to cope with it. I called many people. I said, hey, this is not okay. And maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was never, whatever. I believe it was maybe a misunderstanding. Maybe she never said that. Maybe that manager misunderstood, whatever. But it hurt me. It bothered me. I continued to work, but I didn't have the motivation to work anymore. I knew that I wasn't going to have someone else control my destiny. I was tired of that. My whole life, I struggled with that. Being the youngest manager, somebody else always controlled my future, my destiny. If I was ready to get promoted, I think sometimes my age held me back. They looked at me, they said, he's so young. How could this guy run a restaurant? Mm-hmm. I ran a restaurant when I was 19 years old. I ran a restaurant, they produced $5 million a year. That's a lot of responsibility. And you got to think about it. I'm 19 years old, and all my employees are older than me. My employees are older than me, and I'm managing them. So that was something I had to deal with. But anyways, one day I came to work, and I got a call, and my immediate supervisor is great. Her name is Bryn. She's amazing. She knew how to treat people. She was like me. Mm-hmm. She called me and said, hey, how are you doing today? And I said, I'm just tired. She said, what do you mean? I said, just tired. She said, well, take a half day, go home, and take a rest. I said, no, I'm tired. I don't want to come back anymore. I'm just done. So I went and started my real estate classes. I was very angry with that person still that did that to me. They wouldn't talk about me.
In the other state?
Yeah. Later on, I found out I'm thankful for that person. I pray for that person every day. She was one of the reasons. She gave me the encouragement to say, hey, get out of this. This is not for you, right? So I started my classes. I was doing my classes, and it was 120 hours, and I'm not even finished yet. But,
and you quit the job.
I quit the job. I took the biggest risk of all. That happened in February. And my last day I was leaving, and somebody from our leadership team looked up to me and said, hey, I will see you in 30 days. I said, okay. I'm not gonna let that bother me. That day I had parked my car facing towards the building. And first of all, it was a very emotional day. A lot of people came in and thanked me for being their boss. A lot of parents came in and thanked me for making their daughters and their sons better today, because they said, hey, if it wasn't for you, I don't know where my daughters would be. So I saved a lot of people by just teaching them. Those things matter to me. It didn't matter to me anymore that I didn't get the job, I didn't get promoted, or this person talked about me and put me down. That particular person has always put me down, you know? So it didn't matter. But the difference was that person needed their job. I didn't. I can always make it. That person probably couldn't. So I'm facing the building, I'm looking at my restaurant, and one of the procedures that I had taught to my employees, I'm seeing is still being followed. And the girl looks me dead in the eyes. And I can see it. That day she was crying, her tears are coming down. I can see that. I was so proud that moment, because I knew that even though I was leaving, they had enough respect for me just to continue doing what I had taught them. And that's how I dealt with people. I wanted to be different. I just, you don't owe me any respect. I have to earn it. I have to earn it, right?
Which is a very rare characteristic to find nowadays.
Yeah. I have to earn it. Nobody comes in. Doesn't matter how much money you have, what do you drive, you have to earn your respect, right? But the day I was driving, I kind of got worried, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be back in 30 days. But I didn't want that. I mean, there was times where I told my wife, I would tell her, say, hey, listen, I would rather be on the street than going back to that job. Really? It's just not for me. I had a business mind. I wanted to run my own business and not let somebody control my destiny. That's one of the biggest problems in most corporations that you work for, is that I think there's just so much favoritism going on, and you have to do certain things to fit in. You have to talk to the right person to get promoted. But in my restaurant, it wasn't like that. I measure people by performance. And that's what I wanted. I would always tell people, don't judge me based on my race, based on my age, or anything. Judge me based on what I'm capable of doing. Give me the position that I deserve based on my performance. And nothing else. Forget about everything else. And that's how I did business. But anyways, I left. I had $15,000 in my 401k. I struggled with gambling at the time, badly. Gambling destroyed our lives, destroyed my marriage. I left my marriage thinking that my wife was a problem, but she was doing the best she could. She stood around with me, and that was a hard time, because when I gambled, it put me out of character. I was a different person. I'm a very kind-hearted person. I love helping other people. Not like my dad is quite as
not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. I don't know if I could ever be. He just does too much sometimes. But he's blessed. We are all blessed. So I took my $15,000 out. I took a part of that money and went to Germany.
To visit your friends and family?
Visit my family. Because I was thinking, okay, well, I'm a business owner now. I have to come and work hard now, right? So I visited my family. Was
it because you weren't sure when you were going to have another opportunity to go?
Right.
Okay.
When I could afford it, actually.
Yeah.
So I went to Germany. I saw my family. It was great. I came back, and this was around February, and things were tough. Nothing was happening in real estate. I really couldn't find anybody. See, the difference between me and another real estate agent might be this. Maybe you go into real estate, you live in this country, you have a cousin, you have an uncle, you have an aunt, you have so many different family members. So you can reach out to them, list their home, make 3%, whatever. I didn't have that. I didn't hang around with rich people. I hung around with people that were in my level. So the people that I had were like me, couldn't afford a mortgage.
So far, most of your network is people that worked at McDonald's,
right?
Or a restaurant.
Yeah, and that's the type of people I had around me. But anyways, I went to Germany. I came back, and after a while, I got really frustrated, and I'm like, this is not working out. So I applied for a job as a property management at a property management company.
After you get back from Germany?
After I get back from Germany, I figured I do property management and I do real estate on part time, and it's going to be okay. I didn't get the job, and anybody will tell you I'm very good. When I was in a restaurant, actually, I was doing interviews once a month. I would always go job interviews just to keep myself in place, or if I ever need to get a job, that I can get a job.
You were doing interviews like to get into a different job, right?
Always practicing. I would apply for a job. I actually applied to all these. I applied to a lot of different places. I applied as a cashier for Walmart one day, actually,
really?
When I was running my own restaurant, because I wanted to see what they're asking their cashiers. I interviewed with Chick-fil-A. That was a really good experience. But I always got every job that I applied for. I didn't get that job, and that was also a blessing. And you will find out later why that made a big difference. So I didn't get a job, and I went into immediate depression.
Well, because you mentioned to me earlier, you thought you really deserved to get this job. You thought you were qualified.
That's right.
But you didn't get it.
I didn't get it. They told me I was good. They said you got a job, and then I got a rejection letter. I'm like, okay, well, that was hurtful. So now
and this is like March, right?
March, yeah. So now I have an option to go back to the restaurant again, or whatever, but I was going to do that. So we had two cars. I had a BMW and a Mitsubishi. I used my Outlander for driving Uber, and I said, if I make $1,000 a week, I'll be okay. $200 a day, can't be that hard. I'll start at 6 a.m. I do Monday to Friday. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I get there. The first few days was fine, but one day it took me 14 hours to make $200, and I was so tired. So I left my Uber job and drove to the casino. This is while I'm still struggling with gambling, and within the first 10 minutes, I lost $5,000.
Wow. I
came back and I took another $5,000, and actually I had reached my limit. I didn't have any more money to put in. My bank wouldn't give me more money. So that I had about $2,000, $2,500 left in my account. I already joined a brokerage that my wife wasn't a part of. So I switched my brokerages. I went back to Coldwell Banker. And I kid you not, I never forget that day. The day I went to downtown to get my license transferred, I didn't have enough gas in my car. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I mean it. And if you ever go back to my Facebook, I actually posted a picture. It said, I got home with 1 mile. Literally, my BMW said 1 mile left. And nobody trusted me. My dad didn't trust me. Nobody wanted to help me anymore because they thought I was just gambling. So I took that $2,500 and I figured out there's a lead generation company that I can, put my money in. And people would say, no, don't do it. You can't convert this. Nobody can. I said, well, this is the only thing I can do. So I figured 10 months would be, $250 a month. I just do it. During the same time, I got my first deal. I got a DACA client, Dreamers Act. A lot of realtors will just say, hey, this is not going to work. DACA is a little bit more complicated to do deals with them. But I went through the whole process. I read everything. I went through the Fannie Mac, everything, every guidelines that there is. And I would look for the word of DACA, finding out how can they get a loan. I found out that he could get a loan. We got in contract in April. We closed in July.
60 days.
Oh God!
This is all within February. You went to Germany.
Yeah.
In March, you didn't get the job. And then somewhere in between that, you ended up losing all the money in gambling. And then now you got your first client.
First client, which was a referral for one of my past employees that lives in California.
1 second.
Yeah.
Let me make sure. Okay, good. Past client that lived in California.
That's right. So I never forget that agent. She was so patient with me. I didn't know what I was doing, but she was patient with me. And we were set to close in July. And during that time, I'm starting to get busy. I'm getting clients. This lead generation company is working out. I'm getting so many phone calls, I can't even handle it. And suddenly I have 12 homes in contract. Believe it or not, the first home that I showed, and that guy would say to you, the DACA client that I had, we went to the basement and he looked at me and said, Ryan, what do you think about a furnace? I didn't know what a furnace was. I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of want to ignore that question. I didn't say anything, we'll just go upstairs, and then we go outside. we go to the side and there's AC on it. And I put my hand around like this, and I'm like, yeah, I think the furnace looks great. He said, dude, this is the AC unit. I looked at him, I said, man, I have no idea what I'm doing, man. But what I can tell you is I'm honest. I'm gonna do everything to get you a good deal. And that's how I learned that I had a good negotiation skills. And I actually, right after that, I went to home inspection. And I learned about everything about every aspect of a home. I asked an agent, I said, hey, you have a housing contract, you're doing an inspection, can I just attend? And he's like, yeah, absolutely, just go. And I got to talk to the inspector. His name is Dan. Even today, we're good friends. Christian guy, amazing guy. So I learned a lot from him. So I knew what a furnace was, what AC unit was. But anyways, I had all these homes in contract. My goal was to get 12 homes in contract for a whole year. If I sold 12 homes in my first year, I will be happy.
Mm-hmm. And this is to give people a perspective. Usually, when a realtor starts out their first year, they expect maybe to get like 2-3 deals.
Yeah.
Because the first year you kind of get the ball rolling. So
that's right.
12 deals in a year is something you'd expect second, third, maybe year.
Well, then, as I was getting close to July, I realized that I had all these homes in contract, but I had no hope. I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to close on these deals.
You still thought it was a scam, as you did earlier.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way, it's impossible. So in July, I closed on 12 homes for that month, and that year, my first year, I made double the amount that I had made in my restaurant management job. That was in 2018. 2019, things got better. And then last year, I remember I was sitting at a session, and somebody from Coldwell Banker that does our planning, business planning, looked at me and said, how much do you want to make? And I said, man, if I make $100,000, I'll be happy. Well, my team did that times 4 last year. And that's just like me and my wife. And we had a girl, we had another agent, her name is Alyssa, she's pretty amazing. She was a part of our team, and she did some transactions, but she was doing it part-time, so she wasn't doing much that made an impact as far as our commission. Well, actually, the amount that I said was actually what me and my wife made, because her numbers wouldn't actually show up on there. Then I became the owner of the Lavasani Group. Mm-hmm. Today my company I have a rental property, and looking to buy more. My wife and my dad are doing a flip together.
Oh,
That's
really?
a huge success. It's coming up great. It should be done pretty soon. But yeah, a lot of success, and I learned that person made a big impact in my life. I'm thankful that I didn't get the job.
That person that talked about you, right?
Yeah. I'm thankful that I didn't get a job at that property management company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thankful for that.
Can you share, because this is a detail you didn't mention now, when you closed on those 12 deals in July, and obviously somewhere around April, March, you went gambling, can you mention how much debt you had and what kind of your financial situation was? Just to give an idea of what you were going through those couple months.
Absolutely. I had about $100,000 in debt.
Credit card debt.
Yeah, from gambling and everything else. When people looked up at us in the past, they thought that we had all this money. In reality, we didn't. We had a very rough life. We lived paycheck to paycheck, all behind our mortgages. Actually, the following month, we purchased a new home. We sold our condo, and we purchased our home. And I never forget that. My wife, she was so strong because she stood by me. One of the main reasons why we decided to buy a house, that she wanted to buy a house, I think, was she just wanted to get out of that house and get rid of those memories that we had in the past. So when we went to our new house, I called on my creditors and I said, hey, let's settle this. I want to pay you back.
All this debt.
I settled everything. I had to, because I was going to open a company. I didn't want that to come back after me, and I knew that my bank account was getting bigger and bigger every day, so I didn't want it to come after me. And I wanted to do the right thing, But I also felt like they just gave me credit that I didn't deserve. I shouldn't have access to that money. I didn't have any money management. That wasn't my strength.
It's the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, and you think about all these people that give credit to these people that shouldn't have it.
That's right.
It's out of greed, because at the end of the day, they don't care about what that could do to you. They just want to get the money.
Yeah. And at one of my jobs, one of my owner operator, drove a Tesla. And I would
One of the
always
restaurants you did, right?
Yeah,
Just to clarify.
he operated several restaurants. He had many restaurants.
But one of the restaurants you worked at.
Yeah, one of the restaurants I managed.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was a McDonald's, my owner-operator that I worked for. He owned a Tesla. And I would look at him and be like, man, I hope that someday I can drive a car like that. Well, today I have my Tesla. My wife has her own Tesla. And when I look back, you know, it became a long way. And you know, there's always battles that you have to fight in life. You know, I had one of my biggest battles probably like 2 months ago when me and my wife separated. A lot of people don't know that, but I just out of nowhere, I think that I didn't know what was wrong with me. I'm glad I did, because I came to my own senses, and I just needed to break down and realize that, you know, it's okay to tell people that you love them. It's okay, because for the most part, I mean, in the past I wasn't comfortable with that, but you know, our life is so much better now. We went to California together. We're going to Costa Rica in a couple of days, so I look forward to that.
Oh wow, nice.
And we have so much success, but you know, money is not everything for me. A lot of people say, you know, I post a lot of things on my Facebook about my success. I don't do it to show people that, hey, you know, look at me in this. I never talked about how much money I made, but it's more to show people that, hey, if I could do it, you can. I had it much harder than anybody else would. Not only did I have to learn English, not did I only have come with nothing. I didn't have, you know, any support, but I had the love of my parents. You know, they always
So
encouraged
if you were to see yourself as you were just coming to the United States, what would you tell somebody like that now? Knowing what you know, knowing what you've gone through, what kind of advice would you give to somebody like that?
I would tell them that there's so many opportunities in the United States, and you can be whatever you want. Don't tell anybody you can't. You know, fight for success every day. It almost feels like you're in a place that you don't. It's just very hard. I mean, just think about it. When you go to somebody's house as a guest, and you spend the night, you know, it just feels so uncomfortable sometimes, right? And that's how it feels at first in the United States. But I would say, you know, find what you're good at, and go towards that route. You become successful. Nobody can stop that from you. As I told you earlier, we all get opportunities in life. We just have to take the right opportunity. We have to accept it. Everybody, I believe everybody has an opportunity at one point in their life. Even if even somebody's homeless, that person comes across someone that can help them become better. Now they choose not to take the opportunity and walk away from it. But that person had that opportunity. You hear the stories every day. There's somebody went from nothing to being an owner or CEO of this company, right? And this happened to me. You know, I actually owned 37 Bitcoins when nobody knew what Bitcoins were. Because I was gambling overseas, and I was buying Bitcoins to gamble on sports. I would do sports betting. I sold it for $3,700. 37 Bitcoins. It was $100 a piece. If I would have had it today, I would have been a millionaire.
Well, and to anybody that doesn't know, right now Bitcoin, just one, is worth around 50,000.
I don't even look at it anymore.
I don't know what it is. I looked at it like 3 weeks ago, but the point is it's a lot more than now.
It is. But I've always taken a lot of risk in my life, and I think that leaving the restaurant and going into real estate, I had a job that was giving me a salary. I had a job that had benefits, vacations, and everything. Going into real estate was a big risk. But if there was a 1% chance of happiness, I was willing to take it. And I didn't do any of this by myself. Like I said earlier, my wife played a big role in this whole thing. She told me for years, she said, go into real estate. And I'm like, no way, this is a scam. I'm not going to do that. But even the people that I've met in the past when I was working, those people taught me something, at least one thing that made me better today. I remember when I was working in a restaurant, there was this guy that I was managing a restaurant, and we had brought this guy, and there was work for it. They said, hey, he's going to work for you for a few days. It was an older guy, and I couldn't stand him. But one thing he told me one day, he said never treat people badly, because you never know where that person's going tomorrow. And he was absolutely right. He ended up being my boss. He inspected one of my restaurants. Eventually, when I was in a really bad position, I had taken over a restaurant that was in really bad shape, and he was the person that did the full operation review. He walked to my restaurant and checked everything. That was the person that controlled my paycheck. He could have said, hey, he could have completely failed me and said, you know, this guy doesn't deserve to be a restaurant owner, a restaurant manager, and I could have gotten fired. But I treat him with respect. I treat everybody with respect.
Well, and another example is that one lady that said, that was like forcing you to, you just mentioned a story. I don't even remember if it was before or during this, but you mentioned that there was that one lady that you became her boss.
Yeah. And I told her that day, I think that, I actually didn't mention that. So yeah, that girl that came in the one day when she saw me working, that I really liked in high school, I obviously haven't told her I work at McDonald's. All I was asking the lady, hey, don't make me clean the bathroom when my friend shows up. And she did that, and you know.
And you're like, when you went back, you were like, I'm gonna be your boss someday.
I was so angry. I said, one day I'm gonna be your boss, and she laughed at me. And I was 19, and I got sent back to that particular restaurant that she was working at.
And she left within 30 days.
Yep, she worked for 35 years.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think we talked about that actually. We did talk about it.
It's okay. It's a good reminder, just to show like it's important to show respect.
That's right. Because you never know. Yeah. And that's how I do business today. Everybody that buys a house from me today, whether they buy a house for $100,000 or a house for $1.7 million, I treat them with respect. I don't. They all get the same treatment. They all get the same gift. Anybody that knows, if you ever got an email from me, you know, on the bottom of my email it always says, give people more than they deserve. And that's really what I do. If you interview any of my clients, they will tell you. They feel that because. One thing that I tell people always is, I don't care how many homes you look at. I gotta be able to sell you home and go home tonight after closing, being able to sleep, knowing that I sold you a good home. You didn't rush them just to make your commission, and that you should care about what they were buying. I haven't been in real estate for so long. I got licensed in 2018, right? But I've already have so many stories that I can reflect on. I actually had a client that looked over like 85 homes. It took him 1 year to buy a house. Anybody else would have given up on him. But I never did. He bought a house for me. Another instance, that was probably about 6-7 months ago. I had a buyer that I met a year and a half ago. That person didn't have a credit score to buy. Okay, so I knew that. I knew there was no way. That person was in the 500s. He would call me once in a while. He'd say, let's go look at this house. So I showed him a couple homes, and we end up talking about, hey, your score is not where it needs to be, so work on this or whatever. And he probably kind of felt like I didn't want to show him any homes, but that wasn't the case. A year later, he calls me and says, hey, we've seen this house we want to look at today. Can you show it to us? I didn't ask, is your credit score up? I said, you know what? Let's do it. Because to me, I had the opportunity to meet him again. I never knew what he could have done for me. I met him, we looked at the house, still don't know what his credit score is. He said, well, there's a couple more homes. So that day I ended up spending the whole day with him. His wife and his kids are there, amazing people. And we were done, I left. And then about a month later he called me and says, hey, my credit score is right where it needs to be. We are ready to buy. I said, okay. So I went and showed him the house, and he liked the house, he made an offer. But one thing that he told me, he said, I called you, even though my family is a realtor. I picked you because you never gave up on us when everybody else was. Some people say, why would you show somebody a house that you knew that a year before that they didn't have a credit score? You don't know what people have done. So he closed on his house, and about a month later, I got a referral from him on another house that was like $350,000, and then they referred me to someone else, and they bought a house for me for $400,000. And
that's just recently. You don't know another life.
Oh yeah, that's so much. With every client, I create memories. It's not about the money. It's not. Yeah, money's great. I never wanted to have a lot of money. I don't want to be a millionaire. Everybody says, yeah, it's great to be a millionaire. But to me, those stuff, you just do the right thing, the money will come. I think happiness is way more important over money. When I was younger, I would look at rich people and I said, man, I want to be like him. Well, then today I realized that I want to have a mix of people. I miss the people that I grew up with. I miss those people that didn't have anything just like me. I never forget where I came from, I guess.
Yeah. And Jesus said even, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? It's, you might think that the people that have everything, materially speaking, have it figured out and that their life is perfect, but oftentimes they're most miserable because they've been at the bottom, they've been at the top, and they realize happiness is not anywhere there, and it's honestly not much better.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you, as we've closed this, because this is an amazing story, knowing where you are now, what is your outlook on the future? We've been talking about on the back, we've been looking back. What are you looking forward towards in the future? What are you striving for? What are you working towards? Or if there's not something, maybe it's what are you trying to become?
Well, what I'm working on towards right now mostly is I want to spend a lot more time with my family. I want to do things. I want to be with my wife, go on vacation with her, and do the things that we missed out on for so many years. You know, we haven't had a real vacation together until like recently we went to California, and when I look at that, that's pretty sad. My goal is to be the greatest husband I can be, but also manage work. So now that we have a team, things are easier. I want to continue helping people buy homes, and hopefully someday have my company be able to, you know, offer affordable living to people. I'm not saying, you know, purchasing a home, I'm talking about to people who need to rent.
Like you're having rental properties for them?
Having rental properties, like the last property I bought in Dayton, I was actually on 2 other homes in contract in Dayton, and I canceled because it was in pretty bad condition. But the property that I bought myself in Dayton for my rental, that house was completely redone. And a lot of people would say it doesn't make sense to buy a home in such a good condition. You know, rentals can be whatever. You always hear that term, this house is rent ready. But I want to be able to rent my properties to people. I got to be able to live there myself. If I can live there myself, I don't want to rent it to you. And I say that because that's another thing that opened my eyes going into real estate. I've seen some of these rental properties that people are living in, and it's sad. An animal shouldn't live in that condition, because that landlord only thinks about money. So I pray that someday I have enough money. I continue making enough money to buy more rental properties, even if my profit margin is a little bit lower, that I can offer a better affordable living. You know, like my dad right now, they're doing a flip right now. This house, this guy is doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm telling him like, Dad, why are you doing that? And he says, you know, tomorrow when somebody buys this house, I don't want him to cuss me out. I just want to sell him a good home, right? So that's what I want to do. You know, I've made enough money the past few years, and that's great. I'm good, but I need to spend. You know, going to DC with my dad yesterday is one of the greatest feelings ever. It felt as good as it feels when I close on a deal. Actually felt better. Right, it felt really good. We got to spend time together. We got to talk about things, because my dad always makes everything okay, right? No matter what you're going through, he makes everything okay. And I got to spend more time with him. I think you don't. I was reading a book a couple years ago, and you know, it was talking about this guy who made all this money, and he was in a bed to die, and he's reflecting back and saying, hey, you know, what am I going to do with all this money now that I'm going away? But I missed so much time with my family because I was working.
You mentioned a very important thing about spending time with your family. What would you say in response to somebody that thinks, especially somebody younger, or anybody for that matter, that wants to be successful, and they think that to do that, they need to spend all their waking hours working at the expense of spending time with their family, and even at times taking care of themselves?
Sure.
What would you respond to that? Would you say, is it, like, let's say they get that successful, working all that, is it worth it at the expense of your family?
That's a great question, because I want to touch on that. And this is just me, I'm telling you. I always thought if I work hard enough and make a lot of money, then everything is okay. You know, I told you last year, my company made over $400,000. So that's a lot of money. Right? Yeah. And you think that when you make money, everything is great. So I had employees that worked for me I had my maintenance guy, which was probably one of the lowest positions you can get in a restaurant. My maintenance guy got burned out. As a general manager, I got burned out. I remember I had bosses that got burned out from a job. I also know CEOs that got burned out. And me as a business owner, I got burned out. And when you get to that point, then nothing else is worth it anymore. When you lose your family, when you lose your wife, you know, because you're working so much and you don't even pay attention to them, all your head becomes money. Those are values. Or when you get older and you lose a parent, and you think all the time that you miss with them, that's the times you can gain back, you know.
And no matter how much money you have,
no matter how much money you have,
you won't be able to.
Right.
There's nothing you can buy to even replace or compensate for that.
Right. There's nothing you can buy. And my dad always says, I always tell my dad, I'm like, why are so many rich people on drugs? Why are so many actors that go on drugs? I don't know any actors. I never watch cartoons. I don't watch, you know. But anyways, why do they go on drugs?
Or why do they commit suicide even?
Why do they commit suicide? They have all this money, right? Because money is not everything in life. Money doesn't matter. You know, I never had value for money. I've always gambled. Well, now, money has value to me. I just want to have a comfortable life. It's not to a point where, you know, as long as I have a comfortable life, that's all that matters. If I can afford a vacation, I don't think the way I thought about 10 years ago. If I had the brain that I have today 10 years ago, I probably would have been, I probably would have been a lot different. But that's what I would tell them. Just prioritize things in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Franklin-Covey has a lot of good products out there for time management.
Mm-hmm.
And that book touches a lot on family and time that's missed.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them to read that book. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to hear your story. Off the top of my head, I don't even know how long this is, but I know it wasn't long enough.
Sure.
And I'm glad you had an opportunity to share what you went through. And as everybody heard from the story, you love to help people. And I hope that the people that listen to this, you could help. That helps them, because you can help one person at a time, but hopefully many people can hear this, and you can help a lot of people at once. So thank you so much.
No problem.
God bless you.
God bless you as well. Thank you.
And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
And I want everybody to know they can always reach out to me I still help out a lot of people up to this date.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough business for everyone.
Your contact info will be at the bottom.
Yep.
So we'll make sure to have you there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything.